Have you ever tossed a nickel onto a counter without a second thought? Maybe you dropped one into a tip jar, left one in a cup holder, or watched it disappear into a vending machine. Now imagine discovering that one ordinary-looking nickel could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine realizing that a coin most people spend without hesitation might actually be a hidden piece of American treasure. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in modern numismatics, the 1964 Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel, a coin surrounded by mystery, rarity, and the kind of value that can transform a simple pocket find into a life-changing discovery. Most people see coins as money. Collectors see them as history. But the biggest winners in the coin world understand something different. They see opportunity. Every year, millions of valuable coins slip through ordinary hands because their owners never recognize what they have. They spend them, they cash them in, they exchange them for something worth only 5 cents. Meanwhile, a knowledgeable collector may be looking at the exact same coin and seeing a potential fortune. And that's where today's story begins. The year was 1964. America was changing rapidly. The nation was mourning the loss of President John F. Kennedy, the economy was expanding, and coin production was reaching historic levels. Demand for circulating coinage exploded, forcing the United States Mint to work at an incredible pace. In response, the Mint produced massive quantities of Jefferson Nickels bearing the famous portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his historic Monticello estate on the reverse. At first glance, the 1964 Jefferson Nickel seems anything but rare. More than 1 billion were struck. In fact, it remains one of the highest mintage nickels in American history. That statistic alone causes most people to ignore it. After all, how could a coin made in such enormous numbers ever become valuable? That's exactly what makes this story so fascinating, because hidden among those billions of coins are a handful of extraordinary examples that have become legends among collectors. Before we reveal the errors that have made certain 1964 nickels worth astonishing sums, take a moment and think about this. Right now, somewhere in America, there may be a forgotten jar of coins sitting on a shelf. There may be a dusty collection inherited from a grandparent. There may even be a nickel hiding in a wallet, drawer, or piggy bank that nobody has examined closely. And that's where fortunes begin. The first thing serious collectors look for is condition. In the coin world, condition is everything. Two identical nickels can have dramatically different values depending on how well they were preserved. A heavily worn 1964 nickel might be worth only face value, but a pristine example with flawless surfaces and razor-sharp details can command extraordinary premiums. Then there are the errors. Mint errors are the accidental fingerprints of history. They occur when something goes wrong during the manufacturing process. Sometimes the mistake is obvious, other times, it takes a trained eye and magnification to spot the difference. One of the most sought-after varieties associated with the 1964 Jefferson Nickel involves doubled dies. This occurs when the coin die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned. The result can be visible doubling on lettering, dates, or design elements. Collectors spend years searching for authentic double die examples because they represent a perfect combination of rarity and historical significance. The doubling serves as proof that something unusual happened during production, creating a coin unlike the billions of others. But the double die is only the beginning. Another category that sends collectors into a frenzy is the repunched mint mark. During this era, mint marks were manually punched into dies. Occasionally, the punch would strike more than once in slightly different positions. The result is a fascinating overlap of letters that creates a visible error. These repunched mint marks are particularly important because they tell a story about how coins were made before modern computerized technology. Each one represents a tiny moment of human imperfection frozen forever in metal. Now here's where things become truly interesting. Some 1964 nickels have surfaced with combinations of premium characteristics that are rarely seen together: exceptional strike quality, brilliant surfaces, rare die varieties, minimal contact marks. These coins become what collectors often call monster coins, examples so superior that they rise far above the rest of the population. And when one appears at auction, competition becomes intense. But wait, before we go further, Here's something you should do right now. If you have a coin jar anywhere in your home, remember where it is. Seriously, many valuable discoveries happen because someone decided to check an old container of loose change. It sounds almost too simple, yet countless collectors have stories that begin exactly that way. Now let's return to the mystery. Why do experts sometimes refer to elite 1964 Jefferson Nickels as ghost coins? The answer lies in availability. A coin can have a large original mintage and still be extremely rare in top condition decades later. Most examples entered circulation immediately. They were handled, spent, scratched, dropped, and worn down 2 years of everyday use. Very few survived with the pristine quality necessary to achieve the highest grading levels. As grading standards became stricter, collectors realized that truly elite examples were disappearing. They weren't showing up at shows. They weren't appearing in dealer inventories. They weren't entering auctions with any regularity. They became ghosts. Everyone knew they existed. Very few people could actually find them. That scarcity fuels demand. In modern numismatics, demand and rarity create a powerful combination. When wealthy collectors compete for the finest known examples, prices can climb to levels that seem almost unbelievable to the average person. And that's exactly what happened. Over the years, certain top population 1964 Jefferson Nickels have stunned the collecting community with record-setting sales. High-grade specimens certified by major grading services have attracted intense bidding battles. Collectors aren't simply buying a nickel. They're buying one of the finest surviving examples of an iconic American coin. Imagine two collectors competing for the same coin. Neither wants second place. Neither knows when another example will appear. Neither wants to miss the opportunity. That's how extraordinary prices are born. Now let's talk about the number that gets everyone's attention. The figure often discussed among enthusiasts is up to $781,000. For most people, that sounds impossible. How can a 5-cent coin reach such a staggering valuation? The answer is that market value at the highest levels isn't driven by metal content. It's driven by rarity, demand, condition, certification, provenance, and collector psychology. When a coin possesses an extraordinary combination of those factors, conventional thinking no longer applies. A rare painting isn't valuable because of the canvas, a rare sports card isn't valuable because of the cardboard, and a legendary coin isn't valuable because of 5 cents worth of purchasing power. It's valuable because collectors believe it represents something irreplaceable. Here's a question. What if you discovered one tomorrow? Would you recognize it? Most people wouldn't. They would see a nickel and move on. That's why education matters. The difference between a spender and a collector often comes down to knowledge. One sees spare change, the other sees possibility. And in today's market, possibility has never been more exciting. Interest in rare coins continues to grow as collectors search for tangible assets with historical significance. Economic uncertainty often pushes investors toward collectibles. At the same time, social media and online auctions have introduced millions of people to the world of hidden treasures hiding in plain sight. Every viral coin discovery creates a new wave of treasure hunters. Every record-breaking sale inspires someone else to check their collection. Every extraordinary auction result reminds people that history can sometimes be hiding in their pockets. And that brings us to another important point. Don't assume value based solely on the date. Not every 1964 Jefferson nickel is worth a fortune. Most are common circulated examples. The key is identifying exceptional condition, recognized error varieties, unusual characteristics, and professional certification. That distinction is critical. The dream is real, but expertise matters. Still, the possibility alone is enough to spark excitement. Think about it. A coin that millions of people ignored for decades can suddenly become the center of a fierce bidding war. A forgotten piece of pocket change can become a centerpiece collection item. A small disc of metal can carry a story worth far more than its face value. That's the magic of numismatics. It's not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about history. It's about seeing what others overlook. And perhaps most importantly, it's about understanding that extraordinary opportunities often appear in ordinary forms. So tonight, before you dismiss that jar of loose change, before you empty your pockets onto the dresser, before you walk past an old coin collection tucked away in a closet, Take another look, examine the dates, study the details, search for unusual markings, pay attention to condition. Because somewhere out there, another remarkable coin is waiting to be found, and the next great discovery might belong to someone who simply decided to look closer. The 1964 Monticello Thomas Jefferson Nickel remains one of the most intriguing coins in American collecting history. Its blend of historical significance, elusive varieties, elite condition rarity, and astonishing auction potential continues to captivate collectors across the nation. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone just beginning the journey, this coin serves as a powerful reminder that hidden wealth can exist in the most unexpected places. But here's the truly fascinating part. The 1964 nickel isn't the only coin with a story like this. There is another American coin, even more mysterious, even more difficult to find, and connected to one of the most shocking valuation stories ever recorded in modern numismatics. In our next video, we'll uncover that coin, reveal the tiny detail that separates an ordinary example from a potentially life-changing treasure, and explain why collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts to own one. And trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.